Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm 17 and I've never told this story to anyone outside of close family, mostly because they think I imagined it. But I know what I heard, and I know what I felt. This happened last summer, during a weekend when my parents were out of town for a wedding. They asked if I wanted to come, but I had exams coming up and needed to study. Plus, the idea of having the whole house to myself for 2 days sounded like heaven. The first night went fine. Junk food, Netflix, late night scrolling, all the usual. I went to bed around 1 a.m. I double-checked the doors like my mom always nags me to do. Everything was locked. Everything was calm. Until around 3:12 a.m. I remember the time exactly because I looked at my phone when I heard the sound. Breathing, not mine, not the wind. Just slow, steady, rhythmic breathing. And it was coming from my closet. At first I froze. I was lying in bed, blanket pulled up, and I literally couldn't move. I just stared at the closet door. It was shut, but only halfway. You know when it's not fully latched, and there's that thin gap where the light hits? That's where I saw it. A shadow. It moved, just slightly, like someone was adjusting their position. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Maybe the breathing was in my head. Maybe it was the fan or something. But then I remembered. My ceiling fan was off. And that's when it hit me like a cold wave. I never close my closet door. I always leave it wide open because I hate not seeing what's inside. But that night, it was nearly closed. I didn't close it. I wanted to scream, but something told me not to make a sound. Instead, I slowly reached for my phone and texted, "Are you awake? I think there's someone in my closet." The moment I hit send, I swear to God, the breathing stopped. The silence was even worse. I thought maybe they heard the phone vibrate or saw the light. The door creaked slightly, like weight was shifting behind it. I couldn't take it anymore. I bolted. I jumped out of bed and ran straight out the front door, barefoot. Mr. Walker met me outside with a baseball bat. He called the police while I stood there, crying and shaking. I felt so stupid until the cops arrived. They searched the whole house, upstairs, downstairs, nothing. But when they opened the closet in my room, they found something that still messes with my head to this day. A crumpled up sleeping bag, 2 empty water bottles, and a pocket knife. They said whoever it was probably snuck in earlier that day and waited until I went to sleep. They think he may have entered through the back door or the basement before I locked up. They never caught him. We moved 2 months later. To this day, if I hear any strange noise at night, even the wind, I can't help but check every door, every closet, and sleep with the light on.
Hey, I'm Kyle. I'm 14. This happened last winter when I was home alone for the first time. My parents had gone to a family wedding out of town. I didn't want to go, so they let me stay behind for the weekend. I was hyped. Pizza, video games, and no rules. That Saturday night, around 10:30 p.m., I heard the motion light click on in the backyard. I looked out from the upstairs window and froze.
There was a man standing by the tree line. He wasn't moving. He was just staring at the house, wearing a black ski mask and a long coat. I turned off all the lights and ducked under my bed. After a few minutes, I peeked outside again.
He was gone. Relieved, I tried to calm myself down and figured maybe it was just some weirdo passing through. Then I heard it, a knock at the back door. I crept downstairs and looked through the peephole.
He was standing there, still masked, still silent. I didn't move, didn't breathe. After what felt like forever, he walked away. But when the police arrived 10 minutes later, they found footprints around the entire house. He'd been circling for hours, watching, waiting. I never stayed home alone again after that.
Hi, I'm Mina. I'm 21 now, but this happened just last year when I moved into a small apartment on the edge of town. It was cheap, quiet, and honestly, I loved living alone. Until this one night, it was around 2 a.m. I was in bed, scrolling through TikTok, when I suddenly heard a phone ringing. Not mine. A different ringtone, deeper, old-fashioned, almost like a rotary tone. I paused and listened carefully. The sound was coming from the kitchen drawer. I opened it, and there it was. A phone. A black flip phone I'd never seen before. It was vibrating. No caller ID, just the word unknown. I didn't answer it. I just stood there, heart racing, until it stopped ringing. Then, not even 30 seconds later, I got a text on my actual phone. Why didn't you answer? I nearly dropped it. I picked up the flip phone and took the battery out, hoping that would be the end of it. The next morning, I went straight to the landlord. He looked confused and said no previous tenant had ever reported losing a phone, or anything strange at all. I threw the phone away. That night, it rang again. I never figured out how it turned back on, but I moved out 2 weeks later, and I've kept both phones off at night ever since.
Hey, I'm Ryan. I'm 13 now, but this happened about 6 months ago when I was home alone one weekend while my mom worked the night shift. Our house is pretty old, with those big metal vents in the floors and walls. At night, the creaking and rattling sounds were nothing new. I was used to them. But this time, it wasn't the vents creaking. It was voices. It was around 11:30 p.m. I had just turned off the TV and was heading to bed when I heard whispering coming from the floor vent in the hallway. At first, I thought it was maybe a neighbor through the walls, or even my imagination. But then I leaned in closer, and I heard it clearly. A man's voice, whispering slowly, saying, "He's alone now." I froze. I backed away, trying to convince myself I was tired or hearing things. I went to my room, locked the door, and got under the covers. But then, around midnight, I heard the metal grate of the vent scrape, like someone was lifting it from the inside. This time, the voice was louder, and now there was a second one. A woman. She was laughing quietly. "Shh, he's listening," she said. I swear I felt the floor beneath me vibrate slightly, like something was crawling in the ducts. I grabbed my phone and called my mom, nearly in tears. She rushed home, thinking I was just scared and imagining things. But when she arrived and checked the hallway vent, she found the screws on the cover were loosened, like someone had recently unscrewed it. We had an inspection done the next day. No animals, no access point, no explanation. I don't sleep without white noise now, and I keep something heavy on top of every vent in the house.
Because I still don't know who or what was down there whispering to me.
Hi, I'm Alicia. I'm 19 now, but this happened when I was 17, and it still messes with me to this day. It was a Saturday evening, and I was home alone. My parents had gone out of town for the weekend. I had the house to myself and was honestly loving the peace. I stayed up late binge watching some horror movies. Yeah, I know. Bad idea. Around 1:30 a.m., I finally turned everything off and headed to bed. I always had this habit of checking under the bed before sleeping. Just a little paranoia thing. But that night, I didn't bother. I was too tired. I turned off the lights, got into bed, and was just drifting off when I heard something, a soft scraping sound beneath me. At first, I thought it was the bed frame settling. But then it happened again. This time, it sounded like movement. I sat up, completely still. My heart started racing. I told myself it was nothing. But something in me, something primal, told me to check. I leaned over the side of the bed slowly, pulled out my phone, and turned on the flashlight. What I saw still makes me sick. There was a man, a grown man, lying flat under my bed, eyes wide open, just staring at me. Not blinking, not moving, just staring. I screamed louder than I've ever screamed in my life, and ran out of the room, slamming the door behind me. I called the cops and waited outside on the porch, shaking and crying. When the police arrived, they searched the room, but he was gone. No signs of forced entry. No broken windows. The front door was locked. They searched the whole house and didn't find him. But the thing is, I know what I saw. And for weeks afterward, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, feeling like someone was still under there watching me. Now, I don't sleep in that room anymore, and I'll never leave my bed unchecked again.
Home alone. The safest place on earth, right? Until you hear footsteps in an empty hallway, or find out the closet door moved on its own. These are real stories from real people who lived through every terrifying second.
Still think being home alone is peaceful. These weren't just ghost stories, they were warnings. If you've ever experienced something strange when you were alone, drop your story in the comments. You might be featured in the next episode. Subscribe for more disturbing true stories. And remember, the scariest things happen when no one else is home.